Hello, everyone, welcome to this section. In this section, we learn to create relevant contents in the learning cycle, which is also a very, very important section. Please pay enough attention to it. In this section, we mainly include the following knowledge points. First, we will talk about a definition of our cycle creation, then we will talk about its basic usage. Finally, we will cooperate with the data binding case completed in the last lesson to further explain the use of our cycle creation. So first of all, let's take a look at the definition of circular creation of widget. The so-called circular creation of widget is to create a group of objects automatically by means of circular creation. The data source of circular creation is selected as an array. Through the convenient array method, the widget of circular creation class will copy the rows of the array several times. This definition, if we only look at it in this way, may be slightly different. It's a little difficult to understand. It doesn't matter. Let's cut it off. We will continue to understand such a definition when we are in the actual application. Let's narrow it down a little bit. Then let's take a look at some basic usage of circular creation. For our circular creation, it mainly includes the following 4 steps. First, we make its data card, then we add the container it circularly creates, and then we select the data source of the circular creation container as an array, and then bind a data. Then, in the binding, it has a current data and a current sequence number. These are some of its basic usage. We also intercept its basic usage to facilitate our direct understanding. In that case, let's open our editor and start the content we want to make in this class. We open a case of such a test address book that we used in data binding in the previous lesson. We save it in the file, change the name to our loop creation, click OK button, and then we open it in the new tag. We can see that in the new tag, he saves a loop creation for us, and then you can turn off the previous data binding case, and then first let's experience the general steps of loop creation. First of all, he said that we should make our data cards. So what is our data card? In fact, in the last class, we have made such a data card. What is our data card? In fact, data cards are our basic data units, our data cards. You see, for some data like us, we each have the same URL, including his name, his phone, its edit button, and its delete button. So for a case like ours, this is a simple data card. So there are many, the same example. Here is a simple demonstration for you. For example, when we come to our demo center, we can see that for our demo center, do you think each category above is an independent individual? Then, for the following series of demos, do you see that each demo has the same format? For example, when the finger is moved in, it will display an introduction. When it is moved out, it will include an application and an H5, including its complexity point, including its name, including its browsing amount, including its download amount, and its difficulty. We can see that, in fact, every UI like this is done in this way. So for us, each unit we call it has a data card, so in a case like ours, we each have a name and a phone, as well as a button to edit and delete. This is one of our data cards, so here we cannot use so many data cards, and we usually only make the most complex data card. Note that we can make the most complex data card. So here, let's delete it first, and we can keep 2 such data cards. Then the second point is that we add our loop creation container. How do we add our loop creation container? We first select our page, where is the loop creation container? We can see that in our layout widget, the first one has a for-like mark, which is a widget created by one of our loops. We can click it to add our loop creation widget under the page, and then the most important thing we want to do is create it by loop. What is the essence? By traversing the array, the widget that creates the class will copy the rows of the array several times. Let's understand the definition of loop creation. So first of all, we throw such a piece of data into it, and then we hide such a piece of data so we can see. Now we are creating such a widget in a loop, whether we have such a piece of data, and then what does he do? His data source is selected as an array, so here we create it in a loop. There is a data source in the property of. We select an array. Here we click the arrow symbol to click a value in the address book. Then we clear the binding in the array. We also clear the binding in the same way, so we check it after checking the offline. Let's check the current address book, which is only referenced by such a circular creation. Then we haven't carried out any second step operation. Let's understand the essence of our circular creation. We will create the data source of the class by circular creation, and select an array to create the class widget by convenient array. Copy the rows of the array several times. We can look at the number 0, 1, 2, 3 now. How many lines of data does it have? Does it have 4 lines of data? So then we go straight to a preview, and we can take a look. Look at the address book. What does it mean to have a 44? We have known it through previous studies. This means that this array has 4 rows of data, so 0, 1, 2, 3. Do you see if it has 4 rows of such data? We can do a small test here. For example, I add a one-dimensional array here. I also add some data to a 1-bit array here, for example, 12,345 here. Then, we can write a little initial value here. It doesn't matter if we write anything here. Just let it have value here. Then we modify such a data source. We change the data source created by students to the value of such a one-dimensional array. Here, we print the value of our one-dimensional array. Let's preview it. Why does 12,345 print 5 copies? Because what is the length of our one-dimensional array? Isn't it 5? So first of all, we understand that loop creation is doing one thing, that is, how many data there are in our array. He will help us copy how many copies of the UI in it. Therefore, for a 1-bit array with 5 rows of data, it naturally copies 5 copies. Here, we can use such a 1-bit number for understanding delete it. So here, if we choose an address book array like ours as the data source, we can see that it has 4 lines of data, so it will naturally help us copy 4 copies. Therefore, through such an explanation, we can understand that the so-called circular container creation is very simple. In fact, it is to copy and paste the contents in it. So in the previous content, we copied and pasted such a data by 4 points, but now we don't need to copy and paste it, because we just select an array of data sources created by the loop, and it will automatically copy all the widget in it to the corresponding 4 copies. So generally speaking, when we create a circular creation card, we can use a relatively simple method. For example, after we have made a card, we can copy several copies first to see if the pasted effect is what you expect. If it's the effect you want, you can keep one of them. Of course, if you didn't achieve the desired effect by copying and pasting directly, it proves that your data card created by circulation must have done wrong. You need to see where there is a problem in your UI. Then when we fully understand such a definition, we will delete such a definition first. Then, he comes to the next step, an operation called our binding data. We can see that, now the name is still the name, the phone is still the phone, or we have no binding content. Then we certainly want it to be bound with the values in our address book. How do we bind? First, we need to select since we want to bind a name, we must click such a binding symbol on the right side of the property bar. When we click it, we can see how we want to bind it. Did we directly create a value in the address book by clicking the loop? Because there are 4 data in it, I can only bind 1 value here. You see, I can't bind more than 1 value. Then how can I bind each value differently? Oh, we need to create a special property in the loop. What is the special property? In fact, it has been written to you here, which is a value such as its current data and current serial number. We use our drop-down menu. Because such a widget is in our loop creation, it has a value of current data and current serial number in its drop-down menu related parameters. I didn't delete such a special one here. What's the purpose of each data? This is to let you take a look at each data we have now. It is not in our loop creation. Therefore, when I click on such a name, you can see that in the drop-down menu, it can only select the search object and mathematical formula from the object number. It is not like we are in the loop creation previous data and current sequence number. So here you can see that our so-called current data and current serial number are the unique association parameters in the loop creation of such a widget. If it is not in our student creation widget, it does not have such a value. To understand this, we delete each data we put outside the loop creation. Then how do I bind it? Here I want to introduce to you what is our current data and our current serial number. Then here we trigger it through our top level event. For example, when I click such an edited event, what should I do? I have made a debugging record through the application system. As I told you just now, it has an property of the current data and the current serial number in every loop creation widget. So it is no exception in our formula editor. Now, due to such an editing action, is it created by our students, so here it is after the drop-down menu, I can also find the value of the current data and our current serial number. What does such a current data and current serial number mean? Let's take a look at the preview. Through the observation of these two data, do you seem to have found a little eyebrows? What do you think the current data looks like? Is the current data separated by commas? The value in the first object is its current data. Oh, so next, you better understand what we call the current data. The current data is separated by commas. The content in the curly braces is its current data. So what should I do if I want to get the name in the current data? Can we copy his name here first? For example, can we get his name by temp? Therefore, you should understand that what we call the current data is that in our array, we separate it with commas, and all the values in it are the current data. Each content between commas is its current data, and the current data in each loop creation is different. You see, we are in the first data, it uses the current data in our 0 row. Similarly, we are in the third row. Let's see if it is a current data in our third row. So next, we will understand that the first point is that our so-called current data is divided by commas. Under which horizontal or vertical it is, it will naturally be the content of the data in that line. And what is our current serial number? That's better understood, right? Let's put all these values away. 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's edit 0 again, right? 1 of 3. What is this? So you can see that the so-called current serial number is a value corresponding to the line number where it is located. After knowing these 2 points, we can expand a lot. Here I will show you how to use our current data and current serial number one by one. Let's first perform the simplest binding here. Since we already know the content name and telephone structure in our data, is the name I want to bind equal to what is the name of our current data H? Why is there a name here? Is this the same as our previous object usage? Yes. Because he helped us explain that our current data in the object array is an object, so we want to refer to the value in the object as a usage of point life, so here, he naturally refers to us. Similarly, the phone here is the change of the current data in the drop-down menu. Do you think it's very, very simple and naturally bound? Then let's take a look at Yulon. Have the values in an object array such as Zhang Sonli, Si, Wang Wu Zhao, Leo and us fully correspond to each other. Do they fully correspond to each other? Then here, in order to deepen your understanding of such a data, I want to add some operations here. What operations? Here we make a simple UI. We copy each piece of data and paste it outside. Of course, there is no current data here, so we have to cancel the loop here. What do I want to do? I want to do one thing, that is, if I add 2 of our input boxes here, we drag the input boxes below, one is our telephone NC, the other is ours, and the name NC is 96/120 pixels respectively. Let's make this slightly UI. This is our 96, this is our 120, and then change it here. This is called. Please enter one of our names, and then what is this called? This is called please enter the phone, and then please enter the phone. Here, we change it to a type of mobile phone, and then I don't need 2 buttons here. We only leave 1 button. What button is called add, and then we change the background. If we add, we'll have a green bar, and then we call such an industry reform add data, we bring such an add data here, so what am I going to do next? When I click add, I will add a line of data to the value in such an address book. What should I do? What do I do when it is clicked? Do I want to perform any operations in our address book, add a line of data, and what is the name he wants to add? If so, please enter the content in your name, what is his phone number, and where to add it. We can add it to the beginning and to the end. Obviously, we can add it to the beginning. Has this completed the operation of adding a line of data? And then we will add our address book to print out. Let him print the current value. Let's take a look at the preview. Let's preview it again. By the way, we can tell you here. Do you think the weather is still there when I refresh it again? The weather is gone, isn't it? This data is just temporary data in the front end. It does not enter the database, so it will disappear when the page is refreshed. Let's add some more content here. For example, let's write a word here because it adds another one. Then let's add another one here. Click Add. Do you think it's added again? So we add a front-end data, and each time we add it, we add a row of data to such an array of its data source. However, it naturally creates a loop because of the operation. Naturally, because there is more data here, it will automatically add the number here according to the new addition. Now that we know how to add data, what should we do to delete a row of data? Let's also delete the contents of a row of data. Here we go to delete the add event. When it is clicked, I will not delete my row of data. What should I do? I'm going to operate its data source. What's the data source? Is it our address book? So here, I'm going to perform an operation called deleting rows. To delete a line here, it needs a line number. What is the line number? Let's think about the line number. For example, if I want to delete the data in this line, I will click Edit. What is weight? Is it in our first line? Where is it? In our 0 line, what is this? Is this a current serial number? So if I click Delete, I can delete a line for the address book and fill in his current serial number by deleting a good method. Can he delete the current industry? Let's have a preview. Here I first see that lycée is not going well, and then delete lycée. You see, lycée is gone, right? Then, similarly, I can add some data here. Then when I click Add, you can see a series of things here. Then I deleted Wang Wu. Because it was not printed, you can actually guess that the value of Wang Wu here has also disappeared. Then let's expand here. Wait a minute. Aston, Zhang San and Zhao Liu are only completely corresponding to those here. This is one of the benefits of our data-driven, that is, we only manage data, and as long as we do one of these UIs well, we don't have to make a particularly refined editing. Let me say one more thing here. Some students may say that of course, my UI may be different. What should I do? It doesn't matter, because we still have a good helper called our condition container. In the next section, we will explain how to use our condition container. At that time, we can make any UI we want through our data-driven method. Now that we have known our current data and a content of the current serial number, I will destroy such a content. And then what content is still missing? Is it an editor of the front-end page? So next, when we click Edit, let's talk about the simplest box. Let him pop up one of our names and phone numbers and pay his initial value in advance. Then when we click on a modification, we modify the corresponding one. Since we have to play a frame, where is better for us to play? Is it in the middle? It's best to play in the middle now. What widget do we use? Do we use our banner widget? Here I will directly create an absolute positioning. The banner bar is more convenient. The UI in it is easier to make. Its overall layout, we will fix it in a position in the center, and then we will open the background mask, and then change the transparency of a color of its mask to a 30, which is like a layer of fog incorrect. Then change the default background color to a white color, and then change the name here to our modification box, and then what it wants to modify, whether it includes our name and our phone. Here, let's make it simple. We copy the name, phone and its buttons, officially copy them, and paste them in our modification box. Of course, because there is an absolute positioning environment, we have to drag the box on our side. Of course, it's also very simple. We'll select it here, and then drag it with our mouse. Please enter the name. We'll modify the position of the phone. The phone paper comes here. Let's drag the name paper up a little. Of course, you can choose the layout here. It's just a schematic operation, and change this side to a 120. Then take a look at its X, the X here, let's assume that it is a 40. Okay, so we're aligned, and then the next two buttons under it should be called Modify and Cancel, right? So let's copy this button and paste it. Drag it to the right to modify it. It's called OK, and then it's called Cancel. If you cancel the color, give it a yellow. Generally speaking, cancel is a little yellow, which is more like cancel. Is it suddenly clear that I must find its line number before I can modify this value? Where does its line number come from? Does it come from our current serial number? And where is his current serial number? Is it in our student creation? You see, our modification box is already outside the student creation. He has no way to get one of our current good ones. What shall we do? In fact, it's also very simple. We can use data to transfer. For example, we add a numerical variable here, which is called our current line number, or our current serial number. The current serial number is more standard. For example, our current serial number. When can I get our current serial number? Is it when I click this Edit button? I can go to a Get, so the same side we first delete the original printing time to it, we add an action. When it is clicked, we will directly for such a modification box of the current serial number of an assignment. What is the content of the assignment? Is it in this drop-down menu? At present, since I can't get you outside, I can get you when I'm inside, right? Then I'll take a variable and save you. When I click OK later, won't I use such a value again? It is equivalent to that, we have passed a transit of a variable. When the ocean is created in the loop, we will assign such a value equal to its current serial number, and then when we are outside, we can perform an operation to set the value according to the line where such a current serial number is located. Next, we will series of event to make up for it. For example, when he clicks, in addition to paying for the current need, should I make such a modification box display? It seems that we haven't finished the work, but our editor can be developed in the preview, and we can modify it step by step. For example, now we can preview it, and when I click an editor, you can see what is not good about the user experience. I clearly edit a content, but the name and phone number here are not straight. Is it very uncomfortable to input it for us? So here we are sure to put the content of this step into it, and just now we found that we cannot hide such a box by clicking cancel and clicking mention, so we have to make up for this part of the event. Let's do the simplest first. For example, what do I do when I click the cancel button here? Do I want to hide such a mask when he is clicked? Then for this mention, if it triggered the top mention event, we also let this mention hide. Is this the most basic operation to make a living and hide? So we did it. Then let's do the second point, that is, when I click the edit button, I want the phone and name here to pay the current initial value. How to pay? If the object selects one of our current names, what should he do? What is the negative value of the assignment operation? Now it's created by our students, right? Therefore, we directly select a name for the current data. Similarly, we will also copy the phone in the pop-up box. What is the copy equal to? Is it a phone call equal to our current data, isn't it? Let's have a look. Then, if I click to change Zhao Liu, we can see that Zhao Liu itself comes out. For example, he calls a Zhao Liu, and we take it. When we click OK, we can see whether the value here becomes Zhao Liu. What else has not been done? Is it such a pop-up box that should have been hidden by itself? It is the same. When we click OK, in addition to setting his paper, we also need to hide such a modification box. You see, we are doing it while previewing the whole process. This is also a skill we often use in the later developing. So here, let's edit Zhao Liu into a Zhao Liu, and then click OK. You can see that it becomes a Zhao Liu, and it is hidden. And you must understand that what is my editing? My editor is directly editing the data source created by the loop. Since the loop creates and pays each value to all the widget in it, then its fish Y will change. Okay, let's experience the complete feature again. For example, I add a rhubarb value here, and his phone number is 1388. Then click Add to see that rhubarb appears here. Therefore, in the later study and use, we must develop this data-driven habit. All our operations are best to directly control one of its data, and then its UI will automatically change. Finally, we reiterate that the creation of such a cycle is very, very important. Such a case will also be used directly when we talk about databases and services later. So say such a cycle to create an application, you must complete the whole of yourself to do it. In this case, if you don't understand a little bit, your study will be more and more difficult in the future. You can copy it step by step. So here, we must seriously complete such an after-school exercise and complete such a test address book, including its add, edit, and delete front-end feature. The above is the whole content of this section. Thank you for watching.